I'd like to welcome everyone to this Bible study. Today we're going to study Exodus chapter 37. And in this chapter, it's about the vessels that were placed in the tabernacle. Now, in the first verse, we're going to talk about Bezalel, and he had a wise heart. And God gave him wisdom and equipped him to do the workmanship that required a superhuman ability and understanding to perform God's will. So if you can read with me, I'm going to start in verse 1. Then Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits was its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. Verse 2, he overlaid it with pure gold inside and out, and made a molding of gold all around it. Verse 3, and he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side, and 2 rings on the other side of it. Verse 4, he made poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. Verse 5, and he put the poles into the rings at the sides of the ark to bear the ark. Verse 6, he also made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits was its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. Verse 7, he made 2 cherubim of beaten gold. He made them of one piece at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Now this is hard to imagine, but this was all made out of one lump of gold, and Bezalel was to make the wings spreading out upward and the faces toward the mercy seat, which was a sign of humility. That's what the scholars say. Verse 8, 1 cherubim at one end on this side, and the other cherubim at the other end on that side. He made the cherubim at the 2 ends of the one piece with the mercy seat. Verse 9, the cherubim spread out their wings above and covered the mercy seat with their wings. They faced one another. The faces of the cherubim were toward the mercy seat. Now we're dealing with the showbread. Verse 10, he made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length, 1 cubit its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. Verse 11, and he overlaid it with pure gold and made a molding of gold all around it. Verse 12, also he made a frame of a hand breadth all around it, and made a molding of gold for the frame all around it. Verse 13, and he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that were at its 4 legs. Verse 14, and the rings were close to the frame, as holders for the poles to bear the table. Verse 15, and he made the poles of acacia wood to bear the table, and overlaid them with gold. Verse 16, he made of pure gold the utensils which were on the table, its dishes, its cups, its bowls, and its pitchers for pouring. I just want to mention that in the 40 years that the children of Israel were in the desert, they actually were moving around in different locations in that time. And so the tabernacle and all that belonged to it had to be portable for moving. And as God led the children of Israel, they stopped at different places and they set up the tabernacle in order to worship God. Verse 17 is about the lampstand, which is the menorah as we know it. And again, this was made with 1 lump of gold hammered into shape. This was only possible through the wisdom of God. Verse 17, he also made the lampstand of pure gold. Of hammered work he made the lampstand, its shaft, its branches, its bowls, its ornamental knobs, and its flowers were of the same piece. Now in the Hebrew Bible, it doesn't say the word bowls, it says cups. Verse 18, and 6 branches came out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. So in the middle were 3 knobs, and the menorah was the height of an average man, made of pure gold. Verse 19, there were 3 bowls, or in Hebrew, 3 cups, made like almond blossoms, on one branch with an ornament knob and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch with an ornament knob and a flower, and so for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. Verse 20. And on the lampstand itself were 4 bowls made like almond blossoms, each with its ornament knob and flower. Verse 21. There was a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches extending from it. Verse 22 and 23. Their knobs and their branches were of one piece. All of it was one hammered piece of pure gold. And he made its 7 lamps, its wicks, trimmers, and its trays of pure gold. Verse 24. Of a talent of pure gold he made it with all its utensils. The menorah reminded the people that God is with them. The menorah represents the presence of God. Verse 25. He made the incense altar of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit, and its width a cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits was its height. Its horns were of one piece with it. Verse 26. And he overlaid it with pure gold, its top, its sides, all around, and its horns. He also made for it a molding of gold all around it. Verse 27. He made 2 rings of gold for it under its molding, by its 2 corners on both sides, as holders for the poles with which to bear it. Verse 28. And he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. Verse 29. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the perfumer. So back then, the perfumer was like a pharmacist that we know today. So I want to thank you all for joining me, and please join me again in the next lesson. We're going to study Exodus chapter 38. Till then, God bless you all.